Ever feel like your German is just a little bit stuck? You know, you can state facts just fine, but when it comes to talking about wishes or what ifs, or even just being polite, it all kind of falls apart. Well, you are in the right place. We are about to tackle the German subjunctive. And I promise, by the end of this, you're going to have a watertight plan to use it without even thinking. So let's jump right in.
Okay, so first I want you to meet Ralph. See, Ralph's got this brand new smartphone. He's just pulled it out of the box, and he's already losing his mind. It's not going well. And in this moment of pure frustration, he says this: Wenn ich nur so smart wäre wie dieses Gerät, which means, if only I were as smart as this device. And boom. Just like that, Ralph's little moment of wishful thinking has thrown us headfirst into the world of the subjunctive.
So, the what-if mood. I mean, think about what Ralph just said. He's obviously not as smart as the device, right? He's wishing he were. He's imagining a totally different reality. He's deep in what-if territory. And to do that, German has this special gear it can shift into.
And that special gear, that's what we call the subjunctive mood. Think of it like a special filter for the German language. It lets you stop talking about what is and start talking about what could be. It's the grammar for all those hypotheticals, wishes, daydreams, you name it.
Okay, but when do you actually use it and how, right? That's the part that trips everyone up. But here's the secret, and it's actually pretty simple. You just have to realize there are two worlds of the German subjunctive. And once you get that, I'm telling you, it all just clicks.
And here they are, the two worlds of the subjunctive. Look, on one side, you've got your everyday casual speaking. On the other, you have more formal writing. And here's the trick. They each have their own tool. If you can just keep these two separate in your head, you have honestly won like 90% of the battle. Right, so let's dive into your conversational tool, würden. We'll start here, because honestly, this is your bread and butter. This is the one you're going to be using pretty much all the time. So Ralph is still at it, daydreaming away. He says, Wenn es ein easy phone gäbe, würde ich das viel lieber nehmen. Basically, if there were an easy phone, I would much rather take that. Now look what he did there. He uses that magic word, würde, and then the real verb, nehmen, it gets punted all the way to the end of the sentence. That's the whole move.
And building with würden is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Seriously. Step 1, you grab würden and just match it to who's talking. Ich würde, du würdest, you get it. Step 2, you take your main action verb, like kaufen or nehmen, and its original form. And step 3, you just move that verb to the very end of the clause. That's it. That's the whole recipe.
So the big takeaway here? This würden thing is your conversational multi-tool. It's like your Swiss Army knife. It works with pretty much any verb you can think of in spoken German. So rule of thumb, when in doubt, just use this. It's always going to be your safest, most natural-sounding bet. Okay, time to cross over into our second world, the formal subjunctive. Now, this is the one you're going to see mostly in writing. We're talking literature, super formal letters, news reports, and it does things differently. Instead of two words, it uses one single, specially made verb. Now, the recipe for this single verb form, well, it's a bit more old school. You start with the simple past tense form of a verb, then you look at the main vowel. If it's an a, o, or u, you pop an umlaut on it, and finally, you stick on one of the special subjunctive endings. Yeah, it's a little more work, which is exactly why people in conversation just go for the easier würden construction. And you know, there's another reason too. If you use this single verb form for most verbs when you're just talking to someone, it sounds, well, kind of stuffy, almost poetic. It's like saying, I should like to imbibe yonder carafe of vino. I mean, you could say that instead of, I'd like to drink that wine, but you'd get some funny looks, right? It just sounds a little too much for a normal chat. All right, let's meet the rule-breaking verbs. So we've got our two neat little worlds, right? Conversational würden and formal single verb. Seems simple enough? Well, almost. Because of course, German has a few troublemakers. A tiny group of super common verbs that just love to break the rules. But wait a minute, hang on. Let's rewind all the way back to the start. Remember Ralph's first quote? Wenn ich nur so smart wäre. He said wäre. But hold on, according to the rule we just learned, for speaking, shouldn't he have said something like würde sein? He used the formal single verb version. So what's going on here? Aha, well, that's because sein, the verb to be, is part of a very exclusive club. We call them the VIP verbs.
It's this small handful of super common verbs, sein, haben, geben, and all the modal verbs like können, sollen, etc. And these guys are so important, they get a free pass. For them, you always use the single verb form, even when you're just chatting.
And just then, Rolf's wife Mia comes in with the perfect example. She kind of teases him, saying, Aber Ralf, wenn du ein easy phone hättest, dürftest du nicht mehr prahlen. But Rolf, if you had an easy phone, you wouldn't be allowed to brag anymore. Did you see that? She just used two VIPs back to back. Hättest from haben and dürftest from the modal verb dürfen. And that is exactly how you'd hear it on the street. It's totally natural.
Okay, I know that was a lot to take in, but honestly, it all boils down to a really simple set of rules. So let's put it all together on your final subjunctive cheat sheet. Okay, this is it. Seriously, this one table is the master key. So look, if you're speaking, for almost every single verb, you're going to use würden plus the infinitive. What's the exception? Right, those VIP verbs. For them, even when you're speaking, you use that special single verb form. And finally, if you're writing something formal, you can just use the single verb form for everything. That's it. If you can burn this chart into your brain, you've totally cracked the code.
So, I want to leave you with one last question, and listen closely because it uses both forms we just talked about. Wenn Sie alles auf Deutsch sagen könnten, was würden Sie sagen? If you could say anything in German, what would you say? See? Now you've got the tools to start dreaming in German. The possibilities are wide open. Thanks for tuning in.